So we are talking about the movie Sadako versus Kayako, otherwise known as The Ring versus The Grudge. So this is a Japanese movie, Japanese language obviously, so you're going to be watching this subtitled or dubbed, whatever your poison is. The story here focuses on these two young girls basically as they want to convert a old wedding VHS into DVD. So they buy a VCR recorder from a kind of a local shop. Unbeknownst to them, it actually contains the cursed video, which of course has this kind of the spirit on it. They obviously watch it and then inevitably cursed. And on the same kind of times, we have this family who moved to this kind of neighbourhood right next to the kind of the cursed house, which is in the kind of the Jun-on films, the Grudge basically. And inevitably, they all kind of get cursed by their respective demonic entities. Enter this kind of like cartoon character exorcist who decides it's a great idea to try and have these kind of like spirits fight each other to almost cancel each other out. And that's pretty much a plot here in a nutshell. It's a relatively simple plot. It focuses much more on the kind of the Ring storyline than it does on the Grudge storyline, I would say. I feel the characters involved in the haunted house, the Jun-on, the Grudge story basically, are somewhat kind of shafted a little bit because you really don't get much of that. There are a couple of instances where we see some kids going into a house. There are a few other kind of like people who come into the show and get, you know, killed off and basically to mount up the body count here. But for the most part, it focuses on these kind of two young girls. And I have to say, they made quite good protagonists. One of them makes a decision in the film, which I didn't really understand why they would do it, to be honest with you. You'll know what it is when you see it. They'll do something basically that, why would you do that? And it just like, has far-reaching ramifications. It doesn't really make sense to me why anyone would do that. But anyway, did I like this movie? I gotta say it was disappointing. Apparently this film started off as a bit of a gag. It was basically just a kind of like a bit of a laugh that they decided because of the fan interest that they were going to make into a legitimate film. And I've got to say, it really just feels very humdrum. The actual confrontation between the two spirits, and sadly, is very short-lived, and it goes in a way which I feel is a little unsatisfactory. I mean, we do see the kind of the spirits on screen together and the kind of the interactions and stuff. I've got to say, I did quite like that bit. It is kind of quite fun, but it's kind of short-lived. And like I said, this really does feel like a Ring movie more than anything else, to be quite honest. But I really didn't like some of these kind of peripheral characters. I mean, this is a Japanese film, so I guess the way of filmmaking is a little different compared. But I've seen the original kind of Japanese Ringu movies and Jun-on movies, and they were pretty good. This one didn't really seem particularly scary to me. It almost comes across as somewhat PG, if that makes sense. I mean, there is a reasonably high body count, but never really seems particularly graphic or gory or even that scary, to be quite honest. So I have to say, this to me was somewhat of a disappointing film. It was okay. It was a curiosity. I mean, let me put it like this. If you enjoyed the Freddy vs. Jason film and you kind of like that as a bit of a time waster compared to their respective franchises, then you like the kind of the Grudge and the Ring films, then you may like it. But overall, as a film, I felt it was weak. It really didn't kind of go in any kind of interesting sort of story directions to me. But the protagonists, certainly from the Ring side of things, were okay, and it was an interesting experiment, but I feel a bit of a waste of opportunity. So I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I look forward to seeing you next time. And apologies about the temporary camera. I saw this around someone else's house, so there you go. Bye for now.